Hey,
Hey Brian, how are you? No video, right? We don't need to do video.
what's that? Turn
I
off this
have
air
my
conditioner
video
tomorrow.
on, but we don't need video, right?
No, we don't need video. I know what you look like. A human
All right,
being.
perfect. Nothing
Yeah,
video.
there you
Yes,
go.
a human girl.
A human
Is the
girl.
sound
Exactly.
okay? I'm
Yeah.
outside right now because honestly, indoors I don't get good service. My dog barks, so I figured possibly quieter out here, to be honest.
No, it's totally cool. It sounds great. I like Zoom.
Um,
It fixes stuff. Like I used to
oh
use
yeah?
Hangouts when I first started the podcast, and then
Okay.
it was so temperamental. Like you would have somebody who
Really?
had a shitty mic and it would echo, and it was just so bad. I haven't had
Okay.
no issues with this. I really haven't done a lot of podcasts since I've been back. I don't think I like doing podcasts. They're stressful.
You don't? Why not?
No, I think it's just like sitting there writing stories. You know what I
I
mean? You kind
see.
of do this stuff so that you get to broaden out and get information and have conversations with people and make yourself
Yeah.
uncomfortable with it.
I
It's
think I would
important.
like doing a podcast. A couple of friends and I were doing one. I mean, I wasn't interviewing people. I probably talked too much to interview somebody.
I talk too much too. I interrupt a lot. Just to prepare yourself, I jump
Yeah,
all over. It's a horrible
that's all
medium
right.
for it
We could
too.
go. We could go jump.
It's a horrible medium too because you know like back in the day. I don't know how old you were. Back when I was a kid, we used to talk on landlines, and there was like very little gap in between. People be able to hear you, right? Cell phones
Right.
is like a microscopic little gap, so it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yep.
This is horrible. Like there's like such a large gap in between when I stop talking and when you can hear me that will just run each other over all.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah,
for,
it's
I
like
mean,
an awkward, painful half second that kind of interrupts the flow of the conversation.
I got to tell
I
you,
think we're
talking to writers
experiencing.
is the
We just had one
worst.
right now.
We just had
We
one
just
right
had
now,
one and we interrupt each other.
just to prove the point. So, what school did you go to? What did you do? I mean, so you directed me in what film? What's it called? I don't think I looked at the title. I
It's
got so
called
excited.
Get In. It's called
Get in.
Get In,
That's
although
right.
a friend of mine accidentally posted it as Get Out because of the other more famous film. But yeah, Get In is the name of it.
So you wrote it too, right?
I did write it. Yeah. So I went to Brooklyn College. I'm actually still there. I'm finishing over the summer, like my last 3 credits to get my BA.
Good for
Um,
you. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So with the program, with the film production major, you do like your final 3 semesters, like consecutively, basically, is like
Mhm.
you write your thesis film in one semester, then you shoot it, and then the following semester you edit it. Now, with you, I edited and shot your scenes in the same semester because we did a lot of like I, I I think it's called pickup shots. I'm not exactly sure. We actually rewrote a couple of scenes, so I don't know if that counts as a pickup or just a total scene change is what we really did. So that's what happened
With the scene that I was in?
with the thing that you were in. Yeah, that scene was added into the script
Oh, interesting.
after I had already shot something else entirely. Yeah. And my professor told me, she was like, I think the story could have, more meat in it, basically. So I basically rechanged the whole beginning and added in a new ending. The film was just going to end with Jessica, who's played by Madeline, just like when the van. I don't want to spoil anything, right? I shouldn't spoil anything over the podcast. The film was going to end a scene earlier. Let's just say it like that.
Right? I mean, I hate spoils. I mean, we definitely won't go into what the plot culminates into being, but that was a
Right.
very intense scene. I'm
Yeah.
not watching it yet. I want to watch it with my family when I go back to Brooklyn this
Who's
weekend.
your family? Are you going to watch it with like children? Don't watch it with children.
I'm not going to watch it with my kids. No, just
Okay,
my wife.
good.
Just my
Okay,
wife.
good.
She's really
Good.
curious. We didn't know if I'll
Okay.
ever get the opportunity to show it to her. Man,
So
I
wait, you
skipped through it.
haven't seen it yet?
I skipped through to my scene. I
I
watched it
see.
for like 30 seconds. I hate watching myself though. I
Yeah.
used to hate seeing or hearing my own voice when I did this in the past too. And I got a little better at that. My voice
Yeah.
has changed, unfortunately, but still it's not as bad as it once was. I cannot stand looking at myself though. It's like, oh man, I could tell you're acting. I could
It's
tell.
rough.
And it's really
It's
bad.
really rough. Yeah.
So you want to be an
But I mean,
actor,
I think
I think you
it's
told me.
useful as an actor. And that's not what I primarily want to do, but I do want to get into acting. I definitely want to primarily write and direct. Learning how to act is super important as a director because it helps you direct your talent better. And it also just sounds fun, you know. I just want to be, you know, all around with the film stuff as of now, you know.
But the opportunities now, though, isn't it? Or you're just about to get your bachelor's. It's like, yeah, 120 hours opportunity to act probably in lots of things, but you never did.
Right.
You
I
never
mean,
give it a
I've
shot.
acted before in small things. I was never in like anybody's thesis or anything larger than a thesis. You know, throughout your 4 years, there's so many different productions that happen. So I've been on a handful of films for sure in small roles. Sometimes I played some pretty good roles. I was a drug dealer a few years ago, and everybody was like, "Yo, you were a good drug dealer." I was like, "Oh, that's dope." Then sometimes I play horrible roles. They had me play a teacher once, and I had to improv a whole lesson, and I didn't know what the hell to talk about, but I was just helping some friends out, and I looked ridiculous. I looked way too young. I wasn't dressed like a teacher, so it was just really weird. And yeah, when that film screened, I was at my old school, and we also did a screening. And when that film screened, I couldn't even look at the screen. I just, you know, closed my eyes. I covered my ears. I didn't even watch.
So me, it was like everybody's good, everybody's good. Oh my God, there's me. Horrible moment, and then back to good again. I mean, I like the scene with the van, and you know, the thing that we're not going to talk about. I thought that was so wonderfully done. And then there's my scene.
That's so funny. You know, I'm very self-critical of the entire film and a lot of the decisions that I made, but I thought your character, I thought your character was fine. I'm not going to lie to you and say, "Oh my God, you played the dad," because at the same time, it's like, it was a pretty simple role. I mean, I don't know. Does that make me a bad director that I feel that way? Maybe. But I thought you were good. I thought you looked like her dad. You definitely looked like you looked like soft and concerned, you know what I mean? Definitely not like an authoritarian type, a gentle, overbearing type of father, which is exactly what I was going for. So
what I love about it is that you could take it any way you want contextually. Like that scene could have gone so many different ways.
Yeah.
Just in terms of just emotions. As a director, it's got to be frustrating too, right? You've got, as a writer as well, you have one intention. You write, what is this, like a 20-minute movie, or is it less than that?
Oh God, it's much less. It barely hit 10 minutes. It's like 9 minutes, I think.
Is it like a 10-minute, is it like a 10-page script, or is it more?
It was a 10-page script. I believe it was 10 pages, maybe a little less than 10 pages. It was a short one.
And then it ended up being longer, production-wise?
No, it ended up being, because it's like each page is more or less a minute, right? So I think it was pretty accurate. It was about 9 minutes, 9 pages, something like that.
That's great, right? I mean, you want that as a writer, that your ideas, the thing that you visioned out, to actually work the way you intended it. I guess it works if you're the director too. Nobody's going to misinterpret you, right? Did anybody try to misinterpret? I tried to misinterpret you. I tried to add a lot of meaning to my scene that wasn't there. Did other people try to do that as well?
Try to misinterpret me? I don't know. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that.
Well, maybe not misinterpret, because that might be, as the writer and the director, you have your vision.
Right.
I came in with the idea that maybe there was more going on with the dad. You know, maybe there was an intention with the dad. She's a very interesting character, right? She's very frustrated throughout the entire story. So there's got to be a reason for that. And usually maybe it comes from childhood. I mean, it still could be in the script. I mean, it could be in the movie, right? I mean, what are you suggesting with that father character? What was that relationship? Overbearing is what you told me.
Right. Yeah. I think it was, you know, simpler like that. It was a dad, and I pictured that the mom wasn't around. I'm not going to lie. I didn't picture if she, you know, passed away or if she lives with her dad, which, yeah, I mean, there are other writers who are a lot more specific about this stuff. And I think that's kind of essential. You know, I wrote the script for school. It was a story that started as something else entirely, and suddenly it carried me into this whole, you know, different place. So I kind of just went with it. But yeah, I pictured it was like this daughter, dad. They live just the two of them together. That's his baby. He cares about her. But yeah, he's also a little bit like clueless. You know, he doesn't really
as a father, I can tell you, that's what I expect going forward. Just being clueless, just trying to catch up if I can.
Clueless. Right. Yeah. Exactly. That was definitely the vibe. And the men around her are typically kind of clueless, and the men around her want her to be, I guess, some of the stigmas that we have toward women in general. Somebody who's gentler, somebody who wouldn't go out at night and walk home by themselves, somebody who doesn't have crazy, wild sexual fantasies, somebody, more timid, and that type of vibe. So,
But that's not,
it's
but
just
that's not
about like,
that's not reality
what's
though,
not
right?
reality? That women aren't exactly that.
Well, I mean that the expectation is that women be something that they're not. I mean, they have wild fantasies. They do have to walk home at night. They do have to get to their car in the middle of the parking lot that they
I
parked at in the
think that
beginning
it's
of the day,
pretty
right?
common. I think that it's pretty
I
common
heard that about
that
Asian women just recently too. That's why men like Asian women, because they view them as being timid and more docile and more serve,
You know
like
what
they would
happened with
serve their
a
men.
friend recently? A friend of mine recently told me he broke up with his ex-girlfriend, right? They break up. They're still trying to be friends. It's been a few months. And, he asks her, he's like, are you thinking you're going to start dating soon or like what? And she's like, no, look, we're broken up. I definitely want to be single. She's like, but, I do need sex. So, I might find somebody for that. And he, my friend, was like shocked. He was like, he's telling me, he's like, I never took her for that type of girl. I'm like, what type of girl? She's 25 at least.
A human girl.
I never took her for a human,
A human. They're supposed to be robots. They're supposed to have feelings. At him
like he's crazy. And he says to me, he goes, well, I guess I like princesses. He said something like
There's really
that.
no such thing. I think I get a lot of compliments for how I write women.
Okay, nice.
And it's just mainly about a character in a situation. It's not about a girl. You know what I mean? It's not, whatever the desire is for that particular person, it doesn't make them right. You know what I mean? Desire is all about the drama, isn't it? Or the drama is all about the desire. It doesn't have to
I
be
think that's
sexual.
Wonderful that you write like that, because I think there's a lot of overemphasis on gender. At the same time, I'm actually somebody who's kind of fascinated by gender. I've had a lot of, personal experience. I'm choppy. What was that?
What's that?
Can you hear me? Did I cut off?
No, you didn't.
Oh, sorry.
I'm fascinated
by gender, so I often like to talk about gender and gender roles. But I think it's very powerful that there are films that don't really focus on that. We don't have to focus on, our differences all the time.
So really, I mean, can you name one? What would be a good example of something that does not focus on gender? Because Hollywood's disgusting. Well, you have to have the ingenue, you have to have the hot, sexy girl and the hot, sexy man. I mean, you have to have the guy that can take the hit, break his arm, break the cast. You've got such horrible depictions of humans happening in Hollywood. What's your example of one that does it good?
I actually don't really, definitely not anything that comes to mind. I could give that thought, but I mentioned that because you said that that's how you wrote your characters. You don't exactly write.
Right. I mean, I think gender, which names, powerful. The color of their skin, it's just so kind of pigmentation. I mean, it's just a pigment that you add to the story. It could be a layer, just a description. It could be Tim, or it could be, a girl named Linda. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Survival is our ultimate desire. You know what I mean? We try to survive, whatever it means. Going to the grocery store and buying a bag of chips. It's still survival. It might be boring as hell. Nobody wants to read it, but still, that character, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what stands in their way from being able to get the chips? And it could be because they're a girl, right? But how they behave doesn't have to be whatever society says they have to behave. I think it's interesting. So gender, let's get back on that and talk about some examples. I really think there are examples.
I wanted to say that with film, I don't know, it's a bit of a complicated, question, subject, whatever, because we as audiences, I think a lot of audiences are constantly reading into everything. So
it's our job. Right. Actually, it's a critic's job to read into it. It's an audience's job to swim.
Age, career. These are things that we're automatically assigning so much extra context to. So as writers, it's like, do I want to create characters that completely break like the mold and just kind of surprise people? Or, it can be powerful. Film does this all the time. We use tropes, and sometimes tropes are hurtful and damaging, but sometimes tropes are like, you see a situation, I don't know, guy walks into a bar, whatever, and you know what's going to happen, and it works. It's helpful sometimes for films. obviously
It's a
I don't think
shortcut. It's an easy button for the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shortcut, but it's also very relatable sometimes. I mean, obviously when we make statements on like race and stuff, we can get into a realm that's just hurtful.
I'll mention Star Wars because, you know, it's
haven't
big in
watched
the
Star
news.
Wars, my friend.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that has taken so many elements from a lot of different places in life, glued them all together so you can find something relatable about it. I mean, it's trope centric. You know what I mean? It's universal to hate Donald Trump because he's so memeable. You know what I mean? You can put him in any tropical situation and he's just whatever. I mean, people like stuff like that. They love it. And then within that generic setting, you really can set yourself up for genius. Well, how is that? Like you said, it's the things that you place in there, like the costumes, the lighting, how you place those cameras, how your actors choose to humanize those characters, right? I mean, that's what I love about your medium, is that you can do so much with it. With you listen to the people around you and kind of take hints from your environment.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was thinking, what about that Nicole Kidman movie that just recently came out? She plays a cop who goes deep undercover or something. I could not finish it. I was distracted, but it's basically about her being homeless and going on some kind of renegade kill spree.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. That almost sounds like Monster.
Exactly. And she kind of makes herself not attractive throughout.
Okay.
You know what I mean? She's not going for that beauty queen thing, like I'm hot and I'm kicking ass. No, I mean, she looks like she's been getting her ass kicked for a while. It's a very interesting choice. It's very fascinating.
I like that. It's really dope.
Yeah. The sexualization of a character.
I'm not going to lie. When I hear something like that, I'm not going to lie. Even if they don't show her as like super hot, I don't know. You can also choose an actress for a role like that is more unconventional looking. Like we know Nicole Kidman is hot. You know, give opportunities to people who really look like real people. You know,
I think what's interesting about Nicole Kidman is that maybe if you looked at her now, she would not be considered traditionally hot. You know what I mean? Yeah, back in the day. I haven't
seen her in a while.
Look her up. I mean, she's an older woman. She's 50, 55, whatever, how old she is.
I just pictured her growing.
Pictured her with Tom Cruise, right?
All the time.
I don't think it worked out like that for her. Look at Meg Ryan. I mean, that's another great example. I mean, I'm not saying they're ugly because I can really appreciate femininity. I can really appreciate the feminine form in many different varieties. You know, it doesn't have to be this cookie cutter thing. You know, humans in general, I mean, we just come in so many different shapes. And I look at myself in the mirror. I know I'm not perfect, so I have to appreciate other people for their imperfections as well. I always try to anyway. I think it just makes a more fascinating character. I really do think that I just don't like the idea of somebody starving themselves to death to get a role. I just don't like it. I don't like my daughter doing it and having to look at like Barbies and go, I have to look like this if I want to be successful. We have such a messed up world. We have such a messed up world.
I do think we're changing a lot. I mean, the archetype of feminine beauty, it's still kind of complex. It's still demanding, I guess. But at least it's not necessarily like anorexic looking, you know, like there's some meat going on around these days. And hopefully
we can appreciate athleticism, right? I mean, the soccer, what is it called? The World Cup a couple of years ago with the women. Oh my God, they were all so beautiful, right? They were all just gorgeous out there running and doing what their bodies can do, what they've trained themselves to do. I mean, it was just so, oh my God, it was so amazing. I was in love with every single one of them. And it was just magnificent to watch. And I mean, you could do the same thing with men playing the same sport. It's dynamic to watch somebody be able to use their body in a magnificent way.
Yeah.
The press, though, like gymnasts, they just ruin themselves. And the whole thing with NASA and the abuse, it's like, it's unfortunate. It just sucks. It really does. You think that these women are safe, but they aren't. They're not safe. They can't be treated equally. They're treated like things.
I listen to things like this, and it does make me just kind of give me some anxiety about, you know, a career in this industry. But I don't know what a career in this industry would really look like for me. I don't really picture myself being, you know, like super Hollywood big or anything. Like I like indie movies. You know,
you look at who's popular, right? You look at who's popular, like even Patty Jenkins and whatever her name is, the woman who did the Patrick Swayze movie, jumped out of airplanes, Zero Dark 30.
You watch a lot more movies than I do. I'll never
I'm a
be
very
able to
versed movie
answer.
guy. I love my
Yeah,
movies. But I mean, they are very attractive women traditionally. They
yeah,
were married to
yeah,
very famous men at one point in Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's not hard to imagine they kind of parlayed their experiences into a successful directing career. I don't want to be an asshole. You know what I mean? I don't want to be an asshole, but when I see things like that, that's what I see. And it comes off, right?
right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
how do you do that? I mean, you became an artist. You said, I'm going to do this regardless of what I see happening because you saw it. I don't know, maybe you're 22, maybe you're a regular traditional student, but
No, I'm not
you,
22. I'm 27. I'm an
you're
old
not,
student.
I didn't see a naive person. So I saw an artist that knew that she was getting in the struggle, right? I knew I was getting in the
Okay.
struggle when I did it. I'm a white dude.
Right.
And I still
Yeah.
have no opportunities. You know what I mean? I'm supposedly, whatever the hell that means. But you did it anyway. So what do you see for yourself? It's such a fantastic topic. Gender, you gonna graduate, you want your profession. What are you gonna do with it all?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't. It's a huge question. I don't really know yet. I give it thought. I
Scary.
actually just created a vision board because they say,
Good for you.
it's good for, yeah, for your
Good for that.
success to like manifest what
Yeah.
you want. So I
It
put
makes you
some of
feel
my
good too.
like, well,
You've done something.
yeah, I put one of my favorite like movie quotes. As of now, like I don't really like to think that into the future or anything. As of now, I'm super excited to be on set again. It's been a while. And I feel like I'm kind of dreaming bigger. Like I've been working a lot with my friends on like just small sets, and I kind of thought this was going to be my trajectory for a while. Like, hey, when I want to do a film, I'm going to call some friends, whatever. But now I'm feeling like once I have that script ready, I want to try and get investors for the film. I want to try and have still
Oh
independent,
man.
but a bigger crew to make these, productions happen. So
So cool.
as of now, I want to do a lot. I don't know. I don't know what else to say really. Film isn't, and writing and directing isn't the only thing I want to do. I'm also like fascinated by kind of like podcasty YouTube world and stuff and just speaking. Like I said, I like to talk a lot. So
Oh.
I just want to be like, I don't know. I want to be known for my art and my thoughts, kind of,
What's your
public
favorite
face.
movie quote? What's the thing on your vision board? You mind sharing it? What's your
It's a little
favorite
bit
movie quote?
long. It's from Tree of Life. Have you seen Tree of Life?
Oh my God, why would you even mention it to me? That's one of the movies that it's haunting me. It's haunting me for the
Why? A
longest time now.
lot of people hate it. It's a movie you either love or hate. It's super
I love
artsy.
that guy, Terrence Malick. Is that his guy's name?
Terrence
The
Malick.
guy who's
Yes, Terrence Malick.
freaking
Yeah.
love him. And that Tree of Life has been, Thin Red Line actually has kind of been invasive too. They're so boring. I fall
They're
asleep
so
every time.
boring. No, I don't find it boring. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. In Tree of Life, there's that sequence like almost dead in the middle of the creation of the universe that you watch and it's beautiful. It almost looks like it's like Discovery or History Channel or something. And I'm kind of in and out of it, but I'm still fascinated by it nonetheless. So
I gotta watch
yeah.
it. So what's your favorite quote from that movie?
It's probably not my favorite quote of all time, but it's something that I want to implement more into my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right, you ready?
Yep.
The nuns taught us there are two ways through life, the way of nature and the way of grace. You have to choose which one you'll follow. Grace doesn't try to please itself, accepts being slighted, forgotten, disliked, accepts insults and injuries. Nature only wants to please itself, get others to please it too, likes to lord it over them, to have its own way. It finds reasons to be unhappy when all the world is shining around it and love is smiling through all things. I think it's a fascinating quote.
So which do you think? Which one are you aiming for? Nature or
Oh, I mean, I'm definitely aiming for
grace?
grace, but what the movie, I think one of the messages of the movie is that nature and grace live within all of us as beings. It's definitely, I think the movie promotes aiming for grace, but also discusses that nature is an important thing.
It's a very interesting.
So
It's a very interesting concept. This
it
grace
is.
versus
It's an
nature.
existential movie. It's fascinating. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous film, I think.
You can't argue any other way, but Weinstein being an animal and his pursuit of these Oscar trophies and women and
Yeah,
projects and productions.
yeah,
I mean, he just ran people over. Just ran
yeah.
people over. I just read a quote today, interestingly enough, that kind of fits that animalistic nature psyche,
Mm-hmm.
where it's, oh man, what was it? It's there on the tip of my brain, and I'm not gonna be able to pull it out. But
Oh
it's
boy.
brutal. And
Yeah.
it's brutal. It's like just this question of what you're willing to do.
I think that sounds cool already.
It was about chickens. It was about chickens. It was about it's like the person like Weinstein deciding that they're acting bad is the same way you deciding that a chicken is the same as a coworker. You know what I mean? You don't value the chicken's life ever. It's just food.
Right.
That's how he values everybody beneath him. It's just food.
I see. Yeah.
It's nature, right? That's what they want. That's what they're doing. That's that type of personality.
Right.
And that's
especially
successful,
when it's
isn't
taken
it?
to an extreme, you know.
Can you do that? Can you be that thing? Is that what it means? Can you be heartless? Are you able to eat what you hunt? Is that another one that kind of works in that phraseology?
Yeah, I don't know that phraseology, but it makes sense to me, you know.
Eat what you hunt, right? I mean, that's what you're going to do, looking for investments. I mean, so many people out there. Yeah. In the indie movie industry in New York, is it pretty big and vibrant, or is it hard pressed like all other indie?
Honestly, I like to write stuff, and now recently I'm filming stuff. I actually don't really read that much on the industry. These are things that I want to change. I think I would imagine that indie is pretty big here, you know. That sounds right. I don't know. I feel like I should have an answer to this question. I don't really.
I think you do, but the problem is that there's no way, right? Indie's just as locked as regular Hollywood is, just as shut down, right? The keys to the castle are being well guarded.
By that, because I mean, I consider my production to be an independent production, which is like, in that sense, indie is really alive in New York, because a lot of us are just grabbing cameras, grabbing friends of ours, learning our own way. And if that counts as indie, then I would say it's booming.
That counts as indie, 100%. Like, what you did, what you did with your friends, what your friends are doing, I call that indie, 100%. But the distribution aspects is what hangs you up, and it always has. That's the business side of it. That's the fat guy with the cigar going, "Now, can you get me?" He's not going to buy your film. He's not going to distribute it to the theaters. Why? Because he's got contracts with a bunch of other people that he's got to look to first. Yo, dude, I paid you $1 million.
I think streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, 100. They're amazing because
I think Vimeo. I think Vimeo and YouTube.
But even like, Vimeo and YouTube, anybody can just upload. YouTube, you make money off of. I don't think Vimeo you get money off of. I'm not really sure.
Not sure either.
But Amazon Prime and Netflix, you can sell your movie to play there. And I don't know anyone personally who's done it, but I know like a friend of a friend who did it, who, you know, they worked on their feature and sold it to Amazon Prime. And that's
I think it's one of those gatekeeper situations again.
Yeah.
I think Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and you got whatever the hell else, even YouTube Red, when it was a big thing, I think it's going away. That was all gatekeeper by unions. I mean, they wouldn't talk to you unless you had representation. The representation wouldn't talk to you unless the producer said, yo, I will buy his movie and I will sign off on being in the guild, because that's the only way those people are going to make what you have, I think. I mean, they're not coming to, you know, where we live and saying, hey, do you have a story for me? I'd love to read it. They're going, no, don't give me your story. I do not want you to take me to court. That's what they claim. I don't want you to take me to court.
Well, I also have a friend of a friend who he landed a meeting with Netflix. He wasn't able to, you know, sell anything that they wanted to work on, but he did get his way in there. So I think it's a gatekeeper situation, but I don't think it's anything like Paramount. You know what I mean? I think it's quite different.
People do it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I got examples also where people have hit it on pay dirt on Twitter. You know, they have these things every once in a while where you send your elevator pitch out, you know, your 250 words on what your story is about, and people get bought up. People get contracts. I mean, I've read novels of people who've gotten bought like that aren't very good. So, I mean, it doesn't really even matter about talent. It's all how the person feels at that particular time. Do you know what your friend's story is?
My friend, he did, so it's a friend of a friend. He did a memoir, autobiography about his life, and then he shot something like small with, you know, some friends of his, and that's what he tried to promote.
That's cool, right?
Yeah.
That's like Atlanta, right? That kind of intimate portrayal of a life type situation that's kind of big right now.
Yeah, definitely. So, people want a raw, authentic, you know.
They want the experiences.
Or they want it to look authentic. Yes. Yeah.
want it to look authentic. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing, right? There was a David Schwimmer thing that came out. It's supposed to be one of those really big Sopranos type series, and it has him living in the South Bronx trying to be a chef. I watched like the first couple episodes. I'm like, this is not how things work in that world. I don't think.
Yeah.
Right? Where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in Queens. I was actually always in the neighborhood that you came to. But we shot in my house. I've pretty much always lived very close to this area. My family's Puerto Rican, on both sides, so New Yorican to the max.
So you've lived here 27 years. That's a big chunk of change. That's 2001.
Yeah,
obviously, you were here for September 11th. You know, I'm older than you. Don't worry about that. I got you by 15 years.
It's a big chunk of change these 27 years.
I bet. So what do you think New York today compared to when, I don't know, when you started waking up and realizing where you lived?
I've never been too much of a city girl. Obviously, a lot of areas are really gentrifying, and I know that when I was a baby, New York was a lot rougher from what I understand. And Giuliani came and cleaned things up.
You think he cleaned them up or made it worse?
Leave New York. I'm looking into moving to moving to LA. Part of it is just like,
interesting.
You know, I graduated and I want to break free and just like go be not be a new person per se, but you know, really come out of my shell. I think that when you live 27 years around like the same people, it's just less opportunity. You get kind of you get a little bit stuck, you know. I feel like most of my time it's like just meeting up with friends and getting a drink, and it's a lot of like the same shit over and over. I'm excited to be like, you know, I'm excited to really be on my own, someplace new, and have no choice but to branch out, you know.
I don't know. I mean, you say you're not much of a city girl. Maybe that's your branching out. You know, you've got this thing that is going away, right? Like that it seems that people want, not people, what do you want? The world wants to shut out of the city somehow, right? They don't like the lifestyle that you represent.
I love living in a city. I mean, where I am is it's a little bit suburban, but it's still the city. I like Brooklyn a lot. When I say I'm not a city girl, I mean like Manhattan, really. You know, like I'm not always over there. If I go, it's to shop sometimes or to go to a museum. I don't really hang out over there. I'm definitely a lot more Queens and Brooklyn. So I'm not looking
for what a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing nowadays. I don't think that's a bad thing. There's
I'm a lot more like Queens and Brooklyn. I keep it low key. I'm frugal. So, you know, Queens and Brooklyn makes a lot more sense.
Living in New York City, that's a wrong word to use. Isn't it? Frugal. You gotta have money here no matter what.
Same for LA.
Same as LA, yeah. It's worse than San Francisco. Yeah. I mean, I've been all over the place. I grew up in Florida, and then I joined the Army, and then I haven't stopped moving my entire life. It's like every other year I'm in a different place. Really? Since meeting my wife, this is like the most stable I've ever been. I probably would have left after 2 years if I hadn't married her. So it's like she's a nice anchor for me. So I'm really enjoying the idea. I've lived here for about a decade now. You know what I mean? This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere.
And where are you? Are you in Brooklyn?
My family's in Brooklyn. We're in Greenwood area. I'm in Manhattan now, the Lower East Side.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Good for you. That's what's up.
No, it's not nice. It's not nice out there.
It's not nice? You don't like Lower East Side?
I do Lower East Side. Like, I love this area. This is my favorite part of New York. The West Village, the East Side, they're just really nice. And
it's the best part.
Since the quarantine, things have gotten really awful. Yeah. This is like a magnet for homeless people, you know, the really bad ones that are out there on the street all the time, like hardcore hospice. You know, you just feel for them. So awful, just really bad.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do for you, guy? I mean, I see you like twice a day doing the heroin nod. So, you know, you got your own demons here, and they're all over the place. It just feels so awful for them. And there's been nothing open. You know, I mean, honestly, like these villages, you get the shops. And now people are like, if you forget your mask, they stare at you like you're a piece of shit. And they indicate to their mouths, and like, oh my God, man, shut up. Go back to your apartment and be quarantined again. But that's the situation that these villages right now. I don't know. Your house, Queens.
I haven't been to the city one time since quarantine. I've been saying that I should go just to experience what the city is like in the midst of all of this. I haven't really wanted to get on the train as a part of the problem. But,
don't want to get on the train. I think the train's probably the cleanest part of the city right now. They kick the homeless off. They had the UV cleaning. I think I'd live on the train right now if I could.
I wonder, because I figure that at this point it's probably getting packed again is more my concern. Earlier it might have been a smarter idea, but I would imagine, you know, people are out, so I would imagine the train's getting pretty crowded again.
I've not been on
Especially
the
if they're
train
not
in a long
running.
time either. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been on the train. I don't want to be in a crowded subway right now, mask or no mask. It doesn't, you know. Even though I did that screening and that was a super packed place. I guess that was kind of
Yeah.
silly, but I don't know. It wasn't a bunch of strangers. It was people that I know and people that, for the most part, I trust have been being safe. So, you know, we did it. But you know, here we are. No one's sick.
I was honestly surprised. I came up negative. We got so sick in February. It was unbelievable. But we don't have the antibodies.
What
Yeah,
happened
it's
with
like
that surgery? What was that about? Do you mind me asking?
Well, I mean, just vocal cord stuff. I get
Really?
growths on there. Yeah, like pre-cancer stuff, but not cancer, thank God. Hopefully it goes away,
yeah, well,
but it might be a lifelong affliction, you know.
Wow. Well, as long as it doesn't ever enter the cancer zone, right?
It's already a nightmare because I used to be very vocal, you know. I had very proud of my voice. I was very loud and I could do voices and I could sing and, you know, I always thought, the actor or whatever. And then this thing hit and it was like, now I can't talk. Like when it first happened, I lost my voice and I like felt like I was choking when I said words. It was the worst. And the first surgery was like life changing. Like, oh, thank God. It just came out of nowhere. It just came out of nowhere. It was like all of a sudden, hey, you're 40 and you got health problems.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm 27 and I'm trying to really give thought to those things now. I mean, when I feel back pain and stuff, I'm like, okay, I got to see the doctor or whatever. My mom has a lot of pain. She's 55 and she's like in general super healthy, but then she has like just a lot of like back pain and stuff like that. She fell a few years ago. So I just see that and I know that's not what I want for myself. So just trying to
I mean,
be
honestly, it's
mindful of those
life.
things. But I'm really sorry.
Life, right?
I'm really sorry to hear about your voice, Bryan. But you sound great now.
Thank you.
You feel that way.
It feels garbled. Yeah. Like it feels like there's in my throat, but it is better than it's been. And I don't know how long I've been talking about 40 minutes or so.
You know your voice better than me, but you sound fine to me. Yeah, you've been going 40 minutes. I'll be proud.
I mean, you have to appreciate your health. Like they say, appreciate your health because it eventually will be gone. I mean, that's the one thing that we are, is we're all racing the clock here. We're all racing the clock to achieve something, and whatever that is. I mean, you have to be proud of yourself because you wrote and produced something. That's neat.
Yeah.
Freaking neat.
I don't
even know you that well, and I'm proud of the hell of you.
Oh, I thank you so much. It took me a while to feel any pride. I felt a lot of shame. I was very, especially before we did the reshoot. So thank you so much for being a part of that, because that really helped change my perspective on the film. I really was not happy with the earlier footage that we had. Not only the footage itself, but also the story, the scenes themselves were not really working. And then after we reshot, it still took me a while to get into the editing mode. I was, I think I have ADD. I'm getting it checked out finally at 27.
I'm not laughing at you.
So
I'm just laughing because that's so normal for a creator, for an artist, for a writer to not appreciate what they're. I mean, I am writing right now the same stupid novel that I finished 5 years ago. Like I finished the dumb thing. And I'm like, hey, world, it's done. No, it's not. You're going to spend the next 5 years agonizing. I'm dumb. I self-published it thinking that I knew what I was doing. And I pulled it right off of Amazon within a couple of months. I didn't sell anything and I was a little embarrassed by it. I'm happy that I'm spending the time to work on it because it's a totally different story. But I think that's normal.
I mean, when people
regardless.
self-publish, it's not likely that you're going to really make a lot of sales, right? Like, isn't it just
Depends. We talked about YouTube. We talked about social media. We talked about financing and stuff like that.
But I feel like books and YouTube are so different. I mean, YouTube, people are sitting down all day for free, just consuming whatever pops up. You're going to stumble across stuff. Books, there's not as much of a market for any longer, right? So. And like, you can probably get a snippet of your book that you read for free, but then you have to pay for it. And I don't think a lot of people don't want to do that. So I would imagine that the self-publishing world is like, I would imagine that
you have to have a follower. You have to have a followership. You have to have
Yeah,
people
you're
following you.
right. Like the blog already going or
A
something, you
YouTube
know?
channel, I would think that that would help, but it doesn't help because
Yeah.
nobody wants to sit there for an hour and listen to two people talk, especially over bad quality, whatever sound systems
Well,
we're
I,
using.
I think it depends. I listen to YouTube content that's like over an hour long, and a lot of these people have already like made it, but you got to think they made it because they didn't start having these followers. So I think, I think if your content isn't doing what you want it, performing the way you want it to in terms of like audience engagement, it probably means you just got to make some changes.
I
There
mean,
are
that's the thing,
ways.
right? As an artist yourself, you know that doesn't happen like all of a sudden you pivot and you're going 180 degrees different. You know what I mean? When you go slow, you
Right,
take round corners, you're realizing things aren't working over the course of years as
right,
opposed to minutes. I mean, you don't know if things actually aren't working. I
right.
don't know. I mean, like I know anything. All I do is really enjoy telling the story, and I do not
Yeah,
like marketing. I don't like
yeah.
talking about it. I don't want to tell you to go buy anything that I have available. You know what I mean?
I'm
I,
with
I, I
you.
there are no new ways to do this thing. Either you're fighting against the publishing world or you're not. And like we just talked about, it's gathering people's interest enough to
Yeah.
the point where you have something to sell them. They go, okay, here's 15 bucks.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't like marketing either. I have like Instagram. If you were to look at it, I almost never post. Um, it's on my list of things though that I personally feel like I have to do. I'm not gonna hire anyone anytime soon, I don't believe, to work on marketing for me. I don't think I'll have an agent anytime soon. So I do think that it'll be up to me to really do these things. One thing that is helpful is having like your network of friends. Like, I haven't done this at this point, but I have friends that I feel like if I said, yo, guys, you should run social media, you should do this, and you should do that, like, I feel like we could create a crew that, moves as this unit to promote ourselves as a group and as individuals and stuff. I have friends that help me with my editing. They do this part, and like my friend needs a title sequence, I'll do the title. We help each other out. So
That's
that's an
such a
idea. But
common
when you are like,
story, though, too, isn't it?
yeah,
That's what people do. When you think of Wes Anderson, he didn't get started by himself. He got started at the head of a team.
with the,
When you think of
yeah,
what's his name, the Wachowski brothers. I mean, they're brothers. They had a team. You
yeah,
work in the unit and you produce good stuff. And I think the
yeah,
worst part about it for you would be the arguing. No, Lizette, we're not going to work out that way. We're going to do it this way because whatever the reason, I'm going to argue with you today. Destruction, right? I mean, that right
right.
away destroys everybody's vibe. But if you automatically work as a compromise in a team and you form something, get in, get out, get in, get
Get
in,
it, yeah, get it.
works. It makes get made, whether you feel
Yeah,
bad about it or not. I mean, honestly, it's
right.
not up to you to feel bad. It's about whether you do the thing that you set out to do. Make the
Yes,
thing that we set out to make. Do that. You push your feelings as far away as possible because you might be the reason that it doesn't work out. If you let
right.
somebody else know that you have has hesitations. I mean, I appreciate that what you're trying to accomplish. It's magical.
I want to say when it comes to, finding your crew and stuff like that, yeah, it can be difficult. You can have people who are a little bit stubborn and uncooperative. And if you're working with your friends a lot, chances are you're going to lose some friendships at some point, you know? Not always,
Changeover is good.
obviously. Yeah,
Like you
obviously
said,
there are
I think that's the
creators.
animal part. That's the nature part. You have to be able to
Right,
say, you're not working, man. I could probably find somebody with stronger chops than you.
right, right. But I think so far, I think I've been really lucky. I've met people. I have like my small group, and they were all there on set with us when we shot. Um, that we work really well together, and we don't always have the same ideas. I'm really big on this. Is like,
Mm.
if I'm working with you, Bryan, and this is your idea, I'm going to give you my feedback. I'm going to tell you what I think is working, what I think is not, but I'm always going to tell you that is your call. You are the artist, and whatever you decide, that's what we're going with. I'm very big on like whoever is really like, the primary creator, that's the person that we're following. And I think that my friend group, we're kind of all like that. We give each other the real criticism. I want to be a little bit more raw. I think sometimes I'm a little too like sometimes I want to just be like, no, I don't like this. Take it or leave it, but this is how it makes me feel. But 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 yeah, I think you can find some of the right people who they're not so stubborn. They want to work with you and build you up.
It's all about ego too. It's what you, I
Ego's
cannot,
big.
I can't write without my wife. She's my first reader. You know, she edits me.
Oh,
She lets me know that, yeah, you say, but it's like a cheese grater sometimes, but I can't do it without her. She reads every single thing. She's read every single thing I've written. So, I mean, if I'm anything as a writer, it's because of her. And if I'm complete shit, it's also because of her. You know what I mean? It's hand holding.
Well, that sounds like a lot of pressure that you're putting on her.
Hell yeah. She knows it too. No, I'm joking. It's hard. It was hard in the very beginning too, because she did feel that pressure.
Maybe showing her a piece one day. Maybe one day show somebody else a piece. Just see what happens, you know?
I'd love to hire an editor. I mean, I don't know. You have to have that person though, right? I could fire her. She'll probably be devastated. You know, I've kept stuff from her in the past and she doesn't want to not read it. Like, how come you're not letting me read this? Give it to me now. You know what I mean? It's not a question of, it's not in the beginning, she would have been very, very happy not to read anything. It's like, please don't give me anything. But now it's kind of like, okay, I'm invested here, man. Let's see if we can get this thing done.
I'm a firm believer in general, but definitely in terms of a creative process, that it's, especially if it's not necessarily working as planned, it's super important to like just switch it up. What happens if I change, you know, this variable? What happens if I write this piece completely on my, like, I don't know, at what point do you bring your wife in? Do you bring her early on? Do you wait till the entire piece is finished?
It's all the way done.
You wait until you're done?
100%. And it's already been edited to the point where I think there's no mistakes in it. You know, I never give an unfinished piece out. If I do, you know, I write very small pieces sometimes and I put them on the internet, and those are the roughest things you'll ever read. It's unfortunate they're so, you know, forward facing, but
I got to tell you, that's super inspiring to me. I've started making a website in part because of your website. I'm like, I want this for myself. Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing, you know, the website's a piece of shit so far. I'm like working with WordPress and figuring things out. But it's
WordPress is awesome. I won't lie to you. Are you paying for your own domain, or are you doing the free version?
I am paying for my own domain. I wanted to do Lisette DeJesus.com, so I paid for it. It's not crazy expensive.
The growing pains are just abnormally painful. And I got to tell you, just not to interrupt, because I'm so curious how things are going. But when I first started this podcast, we're talking about months of me beating my head against this wall where they did not want me to post on anything. They did not want this to be I mean, they being these industries that have put price tags on every single freaking thing. There's subscription.
What do you mean?
So I mean, like when you do a search,
they want to.
Like the first thing you do when you do something, you obviously go to Google and say, I want to do a podcast, and you start reading the articles that people are writing. And every single article that you're reading will point you to a place where you can do your podcast. And you get to that place, and then you start an account and you start going, okay, how do I put my podcast up? Oh, no. If you want a real podcast, you have to pay us money. It's just interesting. They're trying to bleed everybody who wants to create. So I had to work my way around it. That was the growing pains. I didn't want to pay anybody anything. So
yeah.
So your website.
WordPress now. I'm considering using a different platform for my website. It's a little bit more complicated, but I kind of like, it would allow me to really make the website exactly how I want it. WordPress
with your films,
finicky, and there's certain things you can't really change unless you pay a lot of money, and I'm not going. When it comes to like the layout of the website, you know. So right now, I really want to.
Those data limits are killer. Those data limits are so murderous, and that's why YouTube is so important.
Well,
and that's why YouTube ruined their market too.
And I pay the subscription for that.
The
only subscriptions that I have for this stuff is Vimeo and WordPress. I think that is it. That's all I'm paying when it comes to my video professional, you know, work or whatever. And I think it's not bad. It's manageable. It's less than $20 a month for both services. So it's fine.
Gotcha.
You know,
I ended up do it in the professional WordPress.com rate.
Oh, see,
you know, the $300 a year or whatever it is.
One?
I had to get the business one because it was unlimited data. And now I'm stuck because I have so many podcasts.
Why didn't you? What do you mean? Why couldn't you just upload the? You know, you can do embeds. You know, you could have embedded like from a YouTube.
Oh no, but you have to find a home for the data of your podcast. It has to live someplace, and that's the main crux of the problem. So like we're going to talk, and this is going to be like a 50 or 60 megabyte conversation. That 60 megabytes is to live someplace for the duration of time. If I want people to access our
on
time.
like Google Drive or something like that. And
well, exactly. It doesn't matter the
on,
drive.
Like, a drive
no. Well, I mean, it has to sit on a server that is accessible to the internet, which then comes with a bunch of bells and whistles attached. You could set your own server up. Yeah, you can set your own server up. You can do, Microsoft has a server plan. You got to pay some exorbitant amount of money for the software. You can go Linux, which is completely free, but you're coding the thing yourself. And that's a server. Like that's just the basic part of it. But if you do $300 a year for WordPress. I'm just not
understanding why you had to do the business plan on WordPress, because if it's
unlimited
living
data
in another server.
The unlimited data.
So you just have it
that's what they get you.
on WordPress.
I just have it all on WordPress. I just keep it all. You have to keep it on WordPress. You have to keep it where Apple will approve you and SoundCloud will approve you, and whoever the aggregates are that collect your podcast. I mean, that's the crux of the matter. And then on top of that, you have your images.
Complicated than video.
Video's bad too. I mean, yeah, you can host it on Vimeo and YouTube.
Right.
And that works right now. And then people are complaining because YouTube changed things, right? And you can also put the link in there, but you don't control any of it. They get the money, they get the clicks, they get the advertisement rate. They will put a video or an advertisement in the beginning of it. If you don't have enough views on your channel, you don't get any of that.
Right.
Until you do.
Right.
I mean, maybe you're good enough and you get the numbers all the way through the roof and you can get that ad revenue, but they're still getting a portion of it.
Right.
What is it? 75%?
Yeah.
65? What's the number? I'm not sure what they get, but they get money off of you.
I'm not sure.
But the goal for you as a creator, is to own all this stuff. I mean, why give it to somebody else? YouTube does not care what you create. And they have actually proven, and Vimeo, I guess, is the best in terms of morality right now, but watch their eyes. I'm pretty sure they're shifty. YouTube changed their algorithm. They made certain that only select people get paid. You know what I mean? They cut people's livelihoods in, like they took 90% of people's income away with no heart whatsoever. They destroyed people's lives just so that they could make more money at the end of the day, and they can funnel people to where they wanted them to go. It's interesting. It's fascinating. And do you want to play that game? That's a Weinstein game.
I haven't. Yeah, that's
right. That's that nature shit. I mean,
like a chicken.
Like a chicken, like it's food, like it's dinner.
A bunch of chicken. I personally haven't really looked into YouTube for to make money off of. I just kind of post the videos for now. Maybe in the future I'll be more like, hey, I'm putting my content out here. If I was looking for a following right now, I just want a website that's more of a space for me. It also is going to have the professional portfolio, so I could send it out when I'm looking for work. And then I want to have a blog and just other things that I like and write and stuff like that.
Do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself a person of color?
Yeah, definitely. Puerto Rican. Let's go. I ain't white.
Do you think that this is a better world for you going into having graduated, your last semester, or do you think you're still going to be struggling with the same stuff that kind of was there before? I mean, as a woman in general, you're already pulling up short, right? In the money department has always been the case.
I'm firmly of the belief that society has gotten a lot better for minority groups. It absolutely has. Is it where we want it to be? No. And that's why there is a lot of frustration. This is an interesting time for me to be saying these things. I'm definitely going to post this podcast. Maybe some people will be upset. I don't know. But society is a better place. It's not where we want it. I still will face many challenges being a woman and being Puerto Rican. That shit's not going away for a long time. But yeah, if the question is, do I think this is a better time than 10, 20 years ago? Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes.
Does it influence the way that you want to tell a story, or how you can tell a story, or the stories that you want to tell? I guess that's the question I want to ask. Does it influence the stories that you want to tell?
Being a Puerto Rican woman?
Society in general. I mean, yeah, that's interesting, right? That's that flavor thing that you can add on top of the characters. But I'm talking about, basically these characters are living in society, so it's going to flavor the story. Does it flavor the story that you want to tell, that you're navigating these same waters with Get In? Especially, you have this woman kind of she doesn't want to rely on anybody. She wants to be able to do it herself. I mean, the whole scene that I'm involved in, that's the deal, right? She's doing what she's doing, taking care of business. I'm interrupting her. You know, she's fine by herself, but I bother her from not being fine anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like interesting. Society is interrupting her.
I think that my individual, you know, experience in life, it comes through. And I think this is the case for any writer, you know, it's going to come through in your story. I have stories that are a lot less like directly related to me and my experience, or story ideas rather. And then I have story ideas that are, you know, very much about my struggles being Puerto Rican, being a woman. Also, I'm bisexual and I've had a lot of gender confusion. So those are subjects that come out a lot. Identity is something that I feel like a lot of my stories are about. I have kind of questions of my identity in a lot of different facets, but so yeah, that's how
what
I
you're
see
doing
that.
as an artist, aren't
and
you?
I think any work of art is always reflective of the time that it's coming from. You know,
you
most works of art kind of challenge. A lot
you
of
might want to be
time.
writing in the Renaissance, but you're writing in 2020. What a shitty time to be writing about.
Exactly.
But it's also the best. Like you said, I agree. I mean, that is a great argument because
there's any shitty time.
Well, no, there is. In the past, I mean, every time that we move forward, it seems like things get better. Oh my God, this is the best time for writing. I agree.
There's 100%. Shitty times. We're living through some shitty times. I mean, people are dying like crazy. There's a lot of injustice. But when it comes to being a writer, I don't think there's a shitty time to write. You know, especially shitty times sometimes produce some of the best work and the best ideas, you know.
Yeah, it's very true.
Are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I lost you for a second.
We're breaking. Yeah. I lost my train of thought there. What was I going to say? So shitty times. I guess it's wrong though, right? We are not living in shitty times. I wanted to amend that. I wanted to say that this is actually, I agree with you. This is a very great time to be alive. Not in a lot of places around the world though. I mean, things haven't changed very much in a lot of places around the world. Things have gotten worse.
I would say things haven't changed enough. When we say very much, I kind of, you know, relative to what, you know, I think it's safe to say we are not where we want to be. I mean, when we look across the whole world, there are places that are doing a lot worse than they were 10, 20 years ago, which is, you know, devastating. I think America, if we're talking about America, I think in a lot of ways we are doing better than we were 10, 20 years ago. And yet we're still not anywhere close to what I would want the richest nation in the world to actually be like for its civilians. And of course, its treatment of the rest of the world, you know?
Yeah.
And there I'd say we're really far off.
Yeah, well, the rest of the world. Everybody is sink or swim right now, it feels like, globally. See what happens. And then we learn that we can't allow that to happen because, you know, a bat will bite a pig and then the pig will be eaten and we'll get a horrible virus. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we can't be ignorant of what's happening in this other world anymore. We have to know.
Yeah.
It has to be more of a global village. I don't know. You have any time on your, you know how long we've been talking? I don't want to keep you much longer because I'm sure you're outside.
It's okay. I'm enjoying the shade. I don't know how long we've been talking. It's 2:20 now. I'm sure we're hitting an hour. I think we're
hitting an hour relatively soon. So yeah, man, you're a badass. I love the way your mind works.
Thank you, dude.
You think fast. I think that's appreciative as well. And most importantly, you finish projects, right? I mean, you finish stuff, which I think going forward, that's going to work very well with you.
This was the first project I finished in a very long time. And that's what I'm proud of too. And moving forward, I hope to have a lot more under my belt, you know? I mean, I want to move at my own pace though, you know? And that's what I'm doing. But I think eventually I'll have a lot more under my belt.
I mean, if I can give you any advice in the entire world, just be to schedule yourself and keep to it. You know what I mean? If you're going to be a writer, be a writer. If you're going to move a production forward, make sure you wear those hats.
Yeah.
And wear them when you think you're going to wear them. I think also that this is the best place for you to be. You're a freaking New Yorker. If you move out to Los Angeles, I feel like you're going to be bored. People really are slow out there. It's like real slow. Yeah, God, they're so slow. Like in a lot of ways. Like you could see it behind their eyes where they're just working things out. And like you're like 8 steps ahead of everybody.
I go and be better than all of them.
No, you're gonna make them mad.
Show them the way.
No,
I'll
you're
make
gonna make
them
them mad.
angry.
They don't
It's
want. They'll
funny.
tell you to slow down. Just
I'm
stop. You're
looking
going too
forward.
fast.
I'm looking forward to slowing down a little. I think that actually could be useful to me. I don't really know. I don't know what to expect in LA. There's a chance that I'll get out there and be like, I can't take this. I'm going back to New York, or I'm going somewhere else entirely. But I just want something new. The weather sounds good.
Oh my God.
Obviously, the film industry is booming out there. I have a couple of friends who are moving out there or are already there, and that is the move. I'm going with it, you know?
If you can, right? I mean, we're looking at another quarantine probably. The nation's already starting to get scared again. We might be locked down. I have no clue what's going to happen going forward. You got tons of time to write, though. Should be churning out those 120-page scripts, like selling them left and right. That's how it's going to start for you. And you cast yourself, right?
Yeah,
you direct
I do
yourself.
want to do some stuff with myself. I don't know yet, though. I'm nervous.
You got to be brave for that. You wouldn't. I
Yeah.
hate it, man. I got to tell you, I do not like it at all. It is one of the worst things I've ever done. I've done it a few times.
For yourself?
I don't write screenplays very often.
No.
No, I write speculative fiction mainly. I mean, I can write screenplays. I do it, and I have done it in the past, but I don't write stuff from me. No, I kind of write on a big scale. It'd be hard, I would imagine.
A good move to write something that you think that you can play and have fun.
Rocky,
and just
dude, it's like history.
You know?
You can make history this way. Sylvester Stallone is a writer-director. Almost everything he's ever done is writing, directing. And he cut his teeth back in the day.
Right.
I mean, you have precedence here. This is how people do this shit. Write for yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could have been Madeline's part.
Yeah.
You easily could have been that person on that bed. That was you anyway. Your heart and soul is in that role.
Yeah.
But you cast somebody else for it because it's hard. It fucking sucks being in front of a camera.
It's hard. Let me tell you, I wouldn't have done it. I have so much, respect for Madeline for being able to do it. She's an interesting girl. And, it's funny because I think to her, I can't totally speak for her, but I feel like in some ways it wasn't that big of a deal to her. Whereas for me, it would be, I don't want to say like, look, obviously it's nerve wracking, you're with people, and some strangers, and you're lying there, you whatever. But she really didn't, like when I told her like, yo, you want to audition? She was like, yeah, sure. Like it was, it wasn't, she doesn't really make that much of a big deal of these things, which is pretty cool. You do it for the art.
She's got a good attitude. I had a great conversation with her. And when she was so relaxed. I mean, we had a great conversation too. I mean, I think you did that's your job. That's what you did very well, is cast, right? I mean, you let the people do what they do.
Thank you
I mean,
so
I wouldn't
much.
say you cast very well. Me, I think that was your one big mistake.
Oh, sorry. I think I did. I think you were the perfect, gentle, giant, let's say. I think you played the role really well. So you should be proud of yourself,
I am proud of
everyone
us
is
all.
proud of themselves, even
I think they should be. And I
really,
I'm looking forward to seeing what you do. And I hope that, I find out what it is. Let me know. Drop me a line. Tell me if I should be aware of something. If you want me to read something, I'll read something too, if you want. So, I mean, I'll be involved.
That would be dope. And I want to read some of your short stories. I actually have short story ideas, and they've sat in my head for so long. Like some stories that I just want to stay, prose or whatever. And I haven't even.
There's no wrong way to tell a story.
I haven't even gotten them out. I don't even write them down, and I have story ideas from like 10 years ago, at least, more than that, that have just stayed with me. It's a good story when it stays.
The shit calcifies. The longer it stays up there, the harder it gets to get out. You just have to one day sit in front of that computer, and you do it with the screenplays.
That's totally true.
What is it?
I don't know if that's totally true. Like sometimes, look, most of my life I haven't actually written. I've had a bunch of ideas, and I'm like, there's no reason to write them. Because I guess I just think, I'm not that good of a writer yet. One day I'll be a great writer, and then I'll know how to write.
That's bullshit, though, because you're never going to be a good writer unless you don't write. Yeah, that's bullshit. You have to write to write.
I'm finally shifting that mentality. Like now I write poetry sometimes, and I post it on like Reddit or whatever. I've been doing a little bit more of like my art and stuff. So just doing it, I don't want to think like, that idea is, but I kind of wait till the moment strikes me. Like these days, I want every day to have some creative outlet. every day, but I don't necessarily want to be the person who's like, oh, you're a film major, you have to pour 16 hours a day with your camera, reading the books about acting, about, no, I don't want that. Sometimes I just want to sit and write a little story, sit and write a poem. Sometimes I want to pick up my camera to do photography, kind of just let the mood hit me.
You'll do it anyway.
And I found that that's working a lot better for me, you know?
I mean, you'll continue. Exactly. Your education's a lifelong thing, right? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Is that? Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah. Sorry, I got a bus passing, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. You can hear me. I couldn't hear. I wasn't sure. Yeah. I've lost my train of thought. I thought for sure I had dropped you for a second.
You were saying education is a lifelong thing.
Oh, education is a lifelong thing. I mean, it's a lifelong thing. And from now on, it won't be the regimented, oh, you've got to read these 3 books for your film major class. It'll be, oh, damn, I didn't know about this guy on this Reddit thing. And I'm going to do a deep dive on him. And then you're just going to discover this random thing that's going to influence your next story. That's the education that you're going to have, unless you go for a master's degree. And then you know what you're setting yourself up for, you know, the dedication, the regimented lifestyle. I mean, I agree. I set myself up every day to work on the...
Sorry. What? I was just saying that I do actually want to take more classes. I don't know if I'll get my master's necessarily. I don't know whether or not I'll take college courses, but once I have things figured out when it comes to a new job, because, you know, my job closed down with coronavirus, and wherever I'm headed next, I'm definitely my job didn't close. I got laid off. They're still doing their thing. I'm happy. I never want to go back there again, to be honest. I'm thrilled. I realized within 4 days of the job being closed, I was like, how the fuck did I do that for the last like almost year? I did not like it. So, but I definitely want to, I was doing like graphic design and some level of media that is media for a company that makes really expensive doorknobs. Really?
Doorknobs?
The most expensive doorknobs. Yeah. And I was running their social media. Toward the end, I was working 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, whatever, on social media. That really became my role, became managing social media. I mean, liking and commenting on hundreds of posts a day. Huh?
That's crazy. That's a real job. I see that on Indeed all the time.
It's real. I'm sure there are some people who love it, who just want to be on Instagram and they like marketing and this is like their thing. But I was miserable. And, you know, I'm writing comments on like interior design, and I have to think of like original comments, like, oh my God, I love that floral pattern with the wood and like shit like that. And it's just like, I was doing this all day. When it ended, I was like,
film company.
God, that is over.
How stupid though, right? What a poison injected into our society. I mean, they should be punished for that. They really should.
It's important for the brand.
Is it? For the brand, not for the world, not for humanity. I mean, it sucks for us because we have to be inundated by fake bullshit. You know what I mean? They post a picture of their whatever, and then we go, we don't have an opportunity anymore. Just go, that's good, that's not good. They instead inject 100 comments that say it's good, and we have to say, oh, I guess 100 people said it's good. Throw an upvote in its way, and then it cascades into something that's not. Maybe. I think it's unfair. I get in trouble for it. If I post a story on Reddit and I want people to like it and it's not getting the upvotes, and I think if it just gets 4 or 5 more, it'll go someplace better than it is right now, I get kicked off the platform. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think it's bullshit that companies and corporations can do that. Right? I think it's ruining it for everybody else. It ruins the algorithm. Everybody just wants to know about Coke today. But then they get all the Coke. And everybody who actually created something, they don't get the opportunities. Coke gets all the opportunities while they pollute the planet. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. And you should have hated doing that job.
Person, yeah, I did hate it. I think that being a creative person, like I feel you, but I think that, like it or not, and I think I'm learning to like it, a part of our creative mind, I think we have to figure out how to creatively navigate through the bureaucratic, businessy bullshit. How to try, you have to try to remain authentic.
And not look like an asshole.
Okay, if I'm working on...
Somebody said once their marketing job was to toot their own horn, right? Like, they had to wear a totally different hat because they had to sell themselves. They had to say, you know, I am the best writer in the world. And they couldn't do that personally. So they had to pretend they were somebody else. Steve Michael is the best writer in the world. I mean, is that the way going forward? What we're looking forward? I mean, we could make the world however we want. Who's popular? The pretty Instagram girls? I don't want them to be popular. I don't care about makeup. That's all you see. How did this fitness model end up in my feed?
I think it all
random.
I think with life, it always just depends on, you know, what you're looking at and who's your audience. The people who want to look at the pretty Instagram girl, that's not my audience, you know?
Not mine either. But that seems to be the only audience out there.
And it's okay if that's a smaller. I don't think.
But you know what else?
Like
what else bothers me though?
Member, and so are you.
You're an audience member. I am, exactly. Yeah. But you know what's messed up is
what I'm looking for. I don't follow. You know.
You are looking for genuine entertainment, I imagine, as a consumer, right? You're not looking to like the doorknobs. You can find it. Yeah, there's tons of stuff out there. There's tons of stuff to enjoy. But it's very, you know, you can wear your tinfoil hat. I do all the time. It's very interesting how all of these big performers work their accounts. You know, they're very similar to each other on YouTube. You know what I mean? You can kind of see a corporate workings behind them, like the doorknob place. You know what I mean? If that works for the doorknobs, it's going to work for the random YouTube channel too that everybody watches. So it's like, I know it's not legitimate. It's not actually the people saying, I love this shit, because there's tons of content getting shoved underneath it every single day that nobody's ever going to see. Why one over the other? I mean, yeah, the market's fickle, but at the same time, it does seem a little devious, like it is being manipulated.
At this point, I no longer like hate the system, the industries, for the most part. I mean, obviously there are some evil aspects to some of this stuff.
Well, you want to be a part of it, right? You want to be a part of it.
I feel like there's a way to navigate it authentically. I really do believe that there's a way to navigate it authentically, you know.
And then you look at Weinstein, that's what and you look at Epstein, and you look at Trump, and you look at these people that are our bosses and the people that take these jobs and have all the money, and they're dirtbags, like the Kraft guy, New England Patriots, he owns macaroni and cheese. He's a piece of shit. And there are so many examples. Nestle, God almighty, go to the store, you get a chocolate bar. You're stealing from ranchers, you're stealing from almond. You know, these places are murderers. Bananas in the grocery store, you know how they got them? They started wars in South America. I mean, it starts stacking up. There's no innocence anymore. Every penny that you spend is going into somebody's pocket to do bad things. And then there's people.
But I think we're lucky to live in a time where we don't necessarily need to totally be within these industries to make good content and to sell it.
I don't think we do either.
You can, you know, we're living at a time where.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So. And that's what I'm looking forward to, and that's something that I'm
exactly. I'm with you. And I don't think it's 100% there yet. I mean,
you got your website, man. You're writing shit.
I think that's the most important part.
But
you have to own it.
You're doing your thing, you know?
Trying to.
I don't give a shit about being the most famous or anything. I definitely want to be able to sustain myself, like, through my art, but I'm not looking to get rich. And if I build an audience or a following, I want it to be for me, not because I posted the, you know, sexy pictures or whatever, you know, not because I schmoozled or, I mean, there's what is it, schmoozing? I don't know. Maybe you got to do a little bit of that stuff, but
it'd be nice, right? Talk to people that you're interested in talking to. But it's really messed up. I mean, you just have to be interested. You follow the path of things that interest you, and you're not going to have a bad time. And you're going to meet people who like talking to you because you're interested in the same things they are. All right? I mean, you do it. I mean, if you're
looking for, Bryan, you said it.